Hello, everyone. Welcome to a brand new episode on Compliance Cafe. Compliance Cafe, where we break down complex compliance issues or topics into simple insights. We are covering annual compliances in season 1, and in today's episode, we're going to be decoding an important form of Companies Act 2013, that is DIR-12. So, for all those who want to know everything about Form DIR-12 and everything relating to directors, today's episode is for you. To walk us through the insights and the nuances of Form DIR-12, we have with us today Mr. Robin Juneja, who's going to be covering up and touching upon everything that's to do with Form DIR-12. We welcome you, Robin.
Thank you so much, Jyoti, for having me on Compliance Cafe.
So, without wasting much time, let's just dive straight into the topic. It's been the pattern of our show that we generally cover the basics initially, followed by the tricky segment, and then if we have any comments or any suggestions or any questions that they want us to cover, we cover that. So, let's start with the basics. For all those beginners, what is Form DIR-12 and what is the purpose of filing DIR?
Okay, so Form DIR-12 is basically an e-form which is prescribed under the provisions of Companies Act 2013. The purpose of Form DIR-12 is to intimate the registrar of companies about change in the directorship of the company. Change in directorship such as appointment of a director, resignation of an existing director from the company, change in the designation of the director. These are the events which happen on a usual basis. But there are some events for which we are required to file Form DIR-12, but they do not happen on a regular basis, such as disqualification of all the directors from the company or appointment of the director by the liquidator or resolution professional in case the company goes under liquidation or facing any insolvency.
Right. So we're done with what's the purpose and what is Form DIR-12. Okay. So, but how is DIR-12? How does it form an important part in annual compliances?
So, Form DIR-12 is not directly linked to annual compliances, but it do play a vital role in annual compliance in the entire process, as during the financial year under review. In case if there is any change in the board composition, then such change is also required to be reflected in your board's report.
Right.
And board report
is an important compliance in annual compliances. So
yes,
that's
yes.
how it is linked. Okay. So, Robin, what are the attachments that goes with the DIR-12? I'm sure there must be different for resignation, different for appointment, and similarly in situationally. But yes, just for the viewers, basic to be clear, what are the attachments?
So when we are proceeding with filing of Form DIR-12, we should make sure that it should also back with the right documentation. Suppose if we are proceeding with filing the form for appointment of a director, we should make sure that we have Form DIR-2, that is consent to act as a director, Form DIR-8, that is a declaration for non-disqualification of the director, attached with the form DIR-12 when we are proceeding with the filing, and in case of resignation, a resignation letter which the company has received from the director and evidence of the cessation, such as the board resolution acknowledging the resignation, should be attached when we are filing Form DIR-12.
So, moving on to our next question, what designation needs to be selected while filing Form DIR-12?
Okay, so while we are proceeding with filing of Form DIR-12, designation should be very carefully selected, because when we are selecting a designation while we are filing the form, the same designation will be reflected on the website of MCA for the director for which we are filing the form.
Right.
If the company is clear with the purpose for which they are appointing the director and the designation is already been decided, then in such case the designation which has been entered in the shareholders or board resolution should match with the designation which we are selecting while filing the form.
Right.
But if the company has not decided the designation, then for that they are required to decide the purpose for which they are appointing the director. For example, if we are appointing a whole-time director in the company, the director should be in the whole-time employment of the company and should be looking at the day-to-day affairs of the company. This is the characteristic of a whole-time director. So at the time of appointing a director, we should be very careful and we should be clear in our mind for which purpose we are appointing the director.
Thank you so much for this insight, Robin. We feel designation is a very small and just a simple drop down, but it has long term implications.
Yes, sure. Yes.
So that needs to be carefully drafted as guided by you. Yes. So we're done with the basic segment of our episode.
Okay.
Moving on to the tricky segment, wherein we roll out interesting questions and that just solves their problems. So the first question is, can a director be directly appointed in an EGM? That's an extraordinary general meeting.
The answer is yes. A director can directly appointed in the extraordinary general meeting of the company. Some people misinterpret that first a director is required to be appointed in the additional capacity, then only they can be regularized in the general meeting of the company. But if we look over the provisions of section 152, to be specific, we have to look over section 152 subsection 2 of Companies Act 2013, which says that a director shall be appointed in the general meeting of the company. It does not specifies whether you have to appoint the director in AGM or an EGM.
So that gives us the power to appoint a director directly.
Yes.
Because there is no specification mentioned.
Yes.
Right. So I'm sure you covered it. He can even be regularized in the EGM.
Yes. Yes. The purpose is that if a company is proceeding with the appointment of a director, it should be subject to the shareholders' approval. As we all know, shareholders are the owners of the company.
Right.
The appointment of a director should be subject to the shareholders' approval, and for that, for the approval, we are required to conduct the general meeting. So the answer will be yes. I'm very sorry. A director can also be regularized in EGM.
Right. Okay. Okay. So moving on to the second question of our tricky segment, is DIR-2 required in every appointment filing?
The answer is yes. Form DIR-12 is consent to act as a director. So when a company is proceeding with the appointment of a director, consent of such director is obviously required. So the answer is yes. Form DIR-12 is required for appointment of every director. For separate director, each Form DIR-12.
So that even that is important. So separate DIR-2 for every director appointment. Yes. Right. Right. So coming to resignation, how is the resignation date determined?
The resignation date of a director is determined on the basis of the date which has been mentioned in the resignation letter or the date on which the resignation has been received by the company, whichever is later.
Right. So if anybody has put in a date of say 30th October in their resignation, but the company has received it only on 15th of November, then the later date being 15th November is when the resignation will be done.
Exactly. The director can also mention the effective date of his resignation in the letter, but the later date will be taking place. Yes.
Okay. So then, in that case, is DIR-11 mandatory for a resigning director to file?
No, DIR-11 is not mandatory, but it is a optional remedy for a director. He can file when a director is resigning from the company. He can file a DIR-11 form to the ROC.
Just a good compliance norm.
Yes, just a good compliance norm. DIR-11 can be filed. The timeline is the same within a period of 30 days of the resignation.
Right. This just brings me to a curious question. Supposingly a director has resigned on a particular date, but the company has not yet accepted that resignation, and there comes a scenario where there is a non-compliance. Can the director be blamed for that period Although he's resigned, but the company has not accepted. So the resignation actually did not take place.
No, it's not like the company has not accepted. The director has already resigned. The company can take a note of such resignation.
Okay.
This is the thing, and in case there can be a question that if the company has not filed Form DIR-12 for resignation of the director, so the registrar is not aware about such resignation, and after the effective date of resignation, if any event takes place for which the director is not liable, then such director has a remedy that he can file a Form DIR-11 with the registrar of companies intimating his resignation. So at that time, the registrar is already aware about such resignation, and the any event which has been taking place after the effective date of the resignation of that director, the director can claim that I was not a part of that organization after the effective date, and I will not be liable for the any event that takes place after the resignation date. But there is a catch: any event which takes place during his tenure, he will be liable for that.
Right. Even if he's resigned.
Yes.
Right. We're done with the basics, we're done with the tricky segment, and we come to the last leg, the advice giving. Because we're an advisory firm, we always have to do that, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what are the checkpoints, Robin, which one has to ensure while filing Form DIR-12?
Okay, so there are some general and common mistakes which takes place while we are proceeding with filing of Form DI-12. These are the general mistakes. There is no rocket science, but at the time of filing the form, when the due dates are very near,
Right.
we just rush towards filing the form, and there are some mistakes which may happen. First of all, if we go through the sequence, the first thing is we should be very careful while selecting the date on the form. The date which has been specified in the resolution in which we have appointed the director should match with the date which we are selecting in the form.
Right.
Proceeding to that, we have already discussed this, but this is a important thing that we have to be very careful while selecting the designation while we are appointing a director. Proceeding to the next, there is a section called interest in other entities. In that, we are required to mention the entities in which the director is already holding the interest along with the shareholding which he holds in those entities.
Right.
Proceeding to that, when we are filing the attachments, please make sure that Form DIR-2, that is consent to act as a director, and Form DIR-8, that declares the non-disqualification of the director, are required to be attached. One more thing is to be kept in mind while we are attaching the Form DIR-2. The format also specifies the identity proof and address proof of the director. Yes. And proceeding to that, we have to select the resolution number and the date on which resolution has been passed. The resolution is for authorizing the board to certify the form which we are filing for appointment of the director. So the date as well as the resolution number in which the authority has been given to the board should be taken into the mind, that it should be very
Should just match,
yes,
basically.
it should match.
Right.
Proceeding to that, the certificate of practice number, if the professional is in practice, those numbers of the professional who is going to certify the form, those should be also correct.
Okay. And of
These
course, lastly, I think the statutory registers needs to be updated accordingly.
Yes.
That's very important too.
After appointment of the director, the register are required to be updated, the name of the director which we have recently appointed.
Right. So I think everybody is thorough with the checkpoints. Although these may look very tiny and minute, but they do play an important role. There's not much heavy with Form DIR-12, but it does form an important part of annual compliance. So thank you so much, Robin, for being and sharing all the insights about Form DIR-12. Very well explained, I
Thank
think.
you so much.
And if you guys have any concerns or any issues, please write to us, and we'll surely, Robin will be here to solve all your queries. Thank you so much, and see you again.
Thank you so much.